think is important is that people's experiences shape their values, and that's why diversity of the judiciary is important, because my experiences as sort of a white middle-class woman are different from a white middle-class man or a Muslim woman or all kinds of different experiences. And I think you have to be very aware of that, and you have to be aware that the fact that
Okay, so Marcia's always had a really strong belief in women's rights and in the support that's needed for women, both within the legal profession but also in the community generally. So she's been very active in relation to the early age of sex workers, and she's also been very active in terms of domestic violence and recently led the Royal Commission. And I think what she shows is a real strength and belief in the value of women and what women can do, and the importance to stand up for women who perhaps don't have a voice for themselves.
The line that was always pushed when I was a law student was, as long as you have formal equality, then you will have equality. A lot of the issues that were to do with women were not ever really voiced at all. For example, I remember doing rape classes in criminal law, and even then I thought that the way that that was being spoken about was wrong, that the law did not accept the experiences of women, that women were disbelieved. So you have to be open. I think that's very, very important, to be open to the way in which experiences influence how people present, how they give evidence, how they tell their stories. All of those things are affected by our experiences in the past. When you get to grey areas, when the law isn't clear, then your values, and you have to choose between competing principles or decide whether to develop the law, for example.
So there's a case, Giller and Prokopets, and that's a decision in which Justice Neave sat on the Court of Appeal, and it's about the remedy that was available basically for, I guess, what you'd call revenge porn.
The man had taken films of them having sex and proceeded to go around and show them. So one question was, could she get a remedy? Could she get damages in those circumstances? And the Court of Appeal held that she could.
There was no decided law on the issue, so the court had to decide what law applied. A less bold court would have just said, well, there's no law, so she gets no remedy. But what I think you saw in that Court of Appeal judgment, and I'm sure that was influenced by Justice Neave's personal experiences and her legal scholarship, was that they said, this is a case where a remedy for damages, for distress and mental anguish that this woman suffered, should be available, even though it hasn't been granted before in the past. And I think that's a really good example of good lawmaking.
Look, I hope I have made a contribution, but what has been really important is that women work together. As a lawyer, I think the notion of justice is absolutely central to my being, and law is a human instrument. Law often fails because it's created by humans. It doesn't always bring about justice, so striving to ensure that it does is really important. We tend to focus on prominent people, and I think we've got to look at the way prominent people have worked with other people to bring about change, because you do have occasionally, you have the Nelson Mandelas of this world, or the William Wilberforces of this world, or the women who worked for female suffrage of this world. You have those people, but they're always supported by a whole range of other people in the background.